Where we start tonight is now, in our current day, in the great state of Minnesota, where a reporter for the conservative National Review magazine recently wrote, quote, "For the price of a new Xbox game, you too can own your very own state party." And it turns out that is sort of true. Madden NFL 23 for Xbox One is $59.99. The game Farming Simulator 22, that's an Xbox game. That one costs $49.99. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is $52.49. If you are willing and able to shell out that kind of money roughly for an Xbox game, let me tell you, National Review is right. You are right in the ballpark for what it would take to buy out all the cash assets of the Republican Party of the great state of Minnesota. The state Republican Party in Minnesota recently reported that its bank accounts are currently flush with a grand total of $53.81. So that is $1.32 more than the Star Wars game costs. But for Farm Simulator, it's actually a deal. You could cash in all the cash assets of the Minnesota Republican Party, and with that money, you could get the $49.99 Farming Simulator game plus almost $4 change, which means you, in addition to that Xbox Farming Simulator, you could buy some Cheetos. Not the big bag of Cheetos, not party size, but a pretty good sized one, especially if it were on sale. Why does the Republican Party of the state of Minnesota have less than $60 in its bank account? I do not know. But the Daily Beast was first to report it, and the details actually only get worse from there. In addition to having less than $60 to its name, the Republican Party of Minnesota also reportedly has over $330,000 in debt, which it needs to pay off, which it will not be able to pay off with less than $60 cash in its bank account. So that does not seem good. It also, it turns out, is not an isolated story. The same sort of thing, or at least a variation on this sort of thing, is happening in a whole bunch of key states for Republicans right now. In Colorado, for example, the Colorado Sun was first to report that that state's Republican Party was so broke that it has stopped paying its employees, and that it is unable to pay rent on its office space. The deputy chief of the Colorado House Republican Party told the Colorado Sun that the Colorado State Republican Party, very simply, is bankrupt. Now, I don't know if there's a connection, but I should also tell you that the Colorado Republican Party is planning to vote next week to simply cancel the 2024 Republican primary in Colorado. If you don't have enough money to pay your rent or your staffers and you're bankrupt, I guess something's got to go. Why not your basic function as a party? In Arizona, the Messenger news outlet was first to report that Arizona's state Republican Party reported in its federal election filings that it has only about $23,000 in the bank in total. And that might be enough to trade for a new Hyundai Elantra, but only as long as you don't want one with cruise control. For all the trouble with the Arizona Republican Party being that broke, I should tell you that the party's highest profile Trump-supporting election denier politician, Arizona Republican Party's failed gubernatorial candidate, Kari Lake, she's heading soon to another state, to Michigan, to help Michigan's Republican Party raise some money. You'd think that she might be able to help out at home, but no, she's going to Michigan to help them raise money. That was just reported today by the Detroit News. That said, maybe it's needed help. Even with Arizona being as broke as it is, look, in Michigan, they got trouble too. The Michigan State Republican Party is broke as well. They reported $93,000 total in their bank accounts. And that comes in Michigan as 16 Michigan Republicans, including the former state party co-chair, are now facing multiple felony charges for having submitted themselves as forged electors, as Michigan electors in the presidential race in 2020, even though they really weren't, because Joe Biden won that state, not Donald Trump. We don't yet know if other people who participated in the fake electors scheme for Trump in other states are going to be charged as well, the way they've been charged in Michigan. But Georgia's one of the states where that is a possibility. In Georgia, we know that a bunch of Republicans who participated in the fake elector scheme, they received target letters from the prosecutor's office in that state, Fani Willis's office, as she investigates various efforts to throw out Georgia's election results and falsely proclaim Trump the winner. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution was first to report that this is also turning out to be an expensive prospect for the state Republican Party in Georgia. Georgia State Republican Party agreed to pay the legal bills for those fake electors, and in so doing, Georgia's State Republican Party saddled themselves with a remarkable financial burden. Already in the first half of this year, the party spent over $500,000 on this. It spent 5 times what it spent on all the party's annual legal expenses combined as recently as 2021, and we're only halfway through the year thus far. In the first half of 2023, they've spent 5 times what they spent on all legal expenses for everything as recently as 2021, and that was for the whole year. That's a lot of states with a lot of financial drama. And these are not state Republican parties in, forgive me, sort of, obscure states where things are never going to be contested. I mean, Minnesota, Colorado, Arizona, Michigan, Georgia, that's like the table of contents for places Republicans want to show what they can do in this next election cycle and the one after that. But all of them, in all those states, they're broke or they're spending themselves into oblivion. I started by saying that the National Review compared the assets of the Minnesota State Republican Party to the price of a single Xbox game. That same conservative publication recently looked at this dire financial picture in multiple states and said this. They said, quote, "If Republicans are disappointed with the results of the 2024 elections, for the 4th straight cycle, mind you, a key factor will be the replacement of competent, boring, regular state party officials with quite exciting, blustering nut jobs who have little or no interest in the basics of successfully managing a state party or the basic blocking and tackling involved in helping GOP candidates win elections." Quite exciting, blustering nut jobs. Couldn't have said it better myself. But that's where we are, with the state Republican parties in 5 more or less crucial states, either in dire financial straits or with crippling financial commitments to people charged with Trump-related crimes, or just outright bankrupt. We've got a Republican presidential primary that mathematically isn't even worth watching, let alone polling at this point. At a California State Republican Party meeting this weekend, the LA Times reports that police had to be called in to avert fistfights between 2 different Republican factions. What's adorable about this story is the nature of the fight. At the behest of the Trump campaign, the California Republican Party tried to change the rules of its presidential primary to benefit Trump. Trump's campaign basically told the California Republican Party to change the rules of its primary so that Trump would be all but guaranteed to get every single one of the delegates out of California. The California Republican Party, asked to do this by the Trump campaign, said, yes, sir, absolutely, how high? But some of the even more radical Trump supporters in that party convinced themselves that a nefarious scheme must be afoot to trick them, that of course that's what they'd want you to think. And so they, put on their tinfoil hats and made their little signs about the Illuminati or whatever and marched on the meeting. And fights broke out and the cops had to be called to break it up. What was it the National Review said? Quite exciting, blustering nut jobs. So depending on where you are in the country, if you're a Republican, this is your Republican Party. Party financial assets equal to 1 perhaps discounted mid-level Xbox game in 1 key state. Fistfights among the Republican faithful in another state only because they are so QAnon-addled they cannot even understand when they are getting what they want. A Biden economy that everyone begrudgingly admits is working for everyone, even if no one's willing to credit Joe Biden for it. And an accused felon promising to destroy the country as the only challenger they're able to put forward to run against President Biden.